All right, I would like to show you how to put the transfer paper on your vinyl and then transfer that to the mirror. A lot of people forget to remove this outer part that is not needed. So I just make a small cut with the X-Acto knife and then I peel that off so that all I have is a piece of vinyl left, the exact size of my mirror. I've got that ready. Here's the transfer paper, and it can be a little awkward. It's a big heavy roll. I like to peel some off in advance like this. Try not to stick it on there until you get it exactly where you want it. So I'm going to try to get it lined up before it ever touches the vinyl. Don't use a whole bunch extra. We don't need to stretch it way out here. It should be just barely over the edge of the vinyl. So about right there is good. And I'm going to try and get it on there nice and flat and smooth. We're trying to avoid getting a bunch of bubbles or wrinkles, but if you do get a couple, it's not a major problem. And then we're just going to slowly push it towards the roll of the vinyl, sticking it down. And now I'm going to have to hold it and maybe unroll it a little bit more. Yeah, I got one small wrinkle in it, no big deal. And then I'm not going to waste a whole bunch. I'm going to try and trim it fairly close, you know, maybe within a half of an inch of where the vinyl is. All right, I'm done with the transfer paper. I can return that. The next thing is to use this tool called a squeegee. It's just a flat piece of plastic that we can use, starting in the center, pushing down as hard as we can to try and stick the transfer paper onto the vinyl. Now I'm working from the middle outward, trying to push the air bubbles and everything so that it'll make it nice and flat and that my vinyl will stick. If you work from the inside out, it pushes the air towards the outer part and it won't get trapped in there. If you go around the outside first, then the air is trapped in the middle and you won't be able to remove it. Okay. Air bubbles are not a huge problem, so I wouldn't worry about it that much. But we just try to avoid getting them stuck in there unnecessarily. Now that I've pushed that down really good, I can very slowly remove this. The vinyl is coming off of the backing paper. Okay. That's the purpose of the transfer paper, to help us transfer the vinyl from the backing paper onto the mirror. So I'm getting this peeled off. If you go really fast, you may tear your vinyl. It doesn't always release easy from the backing paper. So I'm just going slowly. If something starts to stick to the backing paper, I'm going to pull from a different angle or something. A lot of times if you're having trouble, you can just try from the other direction and it works. Or you can pull down from the top instead, and it should come loose without too much trouble. Now, this cannot stick onto the table or onto the floor. If it touches some dirt, it's going to be stuck on there and we can't get it off. So be extra careful not to touch that against some sawdust or any debris. I've got that laid out where it belongs. And now we did this one in reverse. So since we're looking at the back of it, the words are now going the right way. And we're going to put it on the back of the mirror. So I'm lining up the edge of the mirror exactly with the vinyl. I usually do this for most students, unless you want to do it yourself. It's pretty easy. You just line it up, make sure it's not hanging off the edge too far. It should line up perfectly with the square. And then you can just very gently lay it down. Now it's helpful to have another person hold these outer edges over here and kind of stretch it out tight so that when you set it down, it ends up being nice and flat. Now, this is a good side of the mirror. You don't want to mess it up, so there's no reason at all to set that against the table. There could be sand, grit, dirt on the table, and when you slide this around, it just scratches the whole front. So you could get 20 scratches in there instantly the first time you do that. So you want to avoid that. Use your backing paper to protect yourself from anything that might be on the table. Then you can set the mirror on that. That should help protect it a little bit. Again, we're going to start in the middle, use the squeegee, and we're trying to push the vinyl onto the mirror now to make it stick to the mirror. You can kind of hear some crackling. That's pushing the air bubbles out. So I've pushed this down pretty hard, and I think it's pretty well stuck. So the next step is to remove the transfer paper. And all I'm going to do to remove it is I'm going to start peeling it off very carefully. We're going to save the transfer paper. Don't throw it away, don't crumple it up or destroy it in this step. We have a lot of students do that. They don't watch the video or they don't pay attention, and they lose this very important transfer paper. It's going to protect the front when we're done. So we're just peeling it off slowly. Hopefully everything is stuck to our mirror. There we go. Try not to let it stick to itself when it comes off here. So I'm saving this so I can stick it on the other side. I'm going to flip my mirror over, and then I can use the transfer paper to protect it. Okay, again, you want to work from the center outward to push the air bubbles towards the outer part. And if you do this right, you won't end up with any wrinkles. It'll be nicely stuck on there. See, when we put it in the sandblaster, we don't want sand to blast the nice side of the mirror, because that's what's going to show when you're all done. So we have to protect it. It kind of changes color a little bit when you've pushed it down hard enough. Now, a lot of people are all excited. They're, I want to go sandblast. If you take this and put it in the sandblaster now, it is going to have sand stuck all over this sticky paper, and it's going to make a horrible mess when you take it out. I recommend using the scissors to trim that up. And you can just go like this. Sometimes that's easier said than done. If you're having trouble getting it cut, you can try another method. It's a little more dangerous, but I think it works pretty slick. Turn your mirror to the back side and hang it off the table a little bit. Use a nice sharp X-Acto knife and keep it tilted in towards the table. So it's going against the glass, and it should just trim it off really nicely. Now, we've had people cut themselves doing this because they're holding on to the mirror while they're trying to trim it. You need to make sure your fingers are totally out of the way out here, and then you can tilt the blade towards the glass. When you go across there, it should just slice it off. Now, I had some extra vinyl hanging over the edge as well. My vinyl was a little too big, and I can just trim that real easy too. So that's how you transfer the vinyl onto your mirror using transfer paper.